There's a boy in the girls' bathroom, beginning on chapter 15. My poor baby, said Bradley's mother as she wrapped her massive arms around him. He had stopped crying shortly after he ran away from Melinda, but started again when he saw his mother. They beat me up and threw me in the mud, he sobbed. His mother wiped his face with a tissue she kept rolled in her shirt sleeve. Come on, she said, and led him by the hand down the hall to the bathroom. You'll take a nice warm bath, put on clean clothes, and feel good as new. Claudia was in the bathroom combing her hair. What happened to him? Some bullies picked on him after school. There were 4 of them, said Bradley, and they ripped up my homework, too. You've been crying, Claudia accused. That's the rain, said Bradley. Claudia started to say something, but her mother told her to leave the bathroom. She laid out clean clothes on the bathroom counter, then started the water. After his bath, Bradley went into his bedroom. He was just in the nick of time. Ronnie the rabbit was romping across the bed, singing doo-dee-doo-dee-doo. Then suddenly she was lost. Where am I? She asked. Suddenly 3 bad guys were chasing her. They were the 2 of spades, the 9 of hearts, and the king of diamonds. The king of diamonds was the leader of the bad guys. After her, he yelled. Help, called Ronnie. She ran to the edge of the bed, the cliff. She was trapped. The floor was 1,000 feet below. The bad guys moved in for the kill. Let me go, she shouted, then fell off the bed onto the floor, but that was an accident. Bradley picked her up and put her back on the edge of the bed. It never happened. There was time out. What are you going to do to me? Asked Ronnie, trembling on the edge of the cliff. We are going to kill you, said the king of diamonds. Oh, no, you're not, said a voice from behind. It was Bartholomew. Get him, boys, ordered the king of hearts. The cards attacked. Bartholomew punched the 2 of spades in the stomach, then flipped him over his head and over the cliff. Ah! The 2 of spades yelled as he fell 1,000 feet to his death. Next, Bartholomew beat up the 9 of hearts. Go join your friend, he said as he threw him over the cliff too. Ah! Cried the 9. Now only the king of diamonds was left. He came at Bartholomew, swinging an axe. I'll chop off your head, he sneered. Bartholomew ducked, then kicked the axe out of the king's hand and punched his face in. He threw the king over the cliff too. Ronnie ran to Bartholomew. You saved my life, she said. I know, said Bartholomew. They kissed. Claudia walked into the room. Mom's making cookies because you got beat up, she said. Ooh, you're going to have a black eye. I didn't get beat up, Bradley declared. I beat them up. I gave one kid 2 black eyes and another boy 3. You can't give somebody 3 black eyes, said Claudia. Shut up, said Bradley, or I'll give you 4 black eyes. Claudia shrugged and left his room. Bradley got up from his bed and went into the kitchen, where his mother was making chocolate chip cookies. She let him lick the spoon. I want to know the names of the boys who did this to you, she said. I'm going to call your school principal. Bradley thought for a moment. I don't know all their names, he said. Don't be afraid to tell me, said his mother. They won't hurt you any more. Bradley thought a moment. Jeff Fishkin, he declared. He was the leader of the gang. I'll call the school first thing in the morning, said his mother. Good, said Bradley. I hope he gets in trouble. I hate him. Chapter 16. Bradley walked slowly, holding his hand over his eyes so nobody would see it. His mother would have let him stay home from school, but his father said he had to go. He's scared, his mother had said. Some bullies have been terrorizing him. Babying him will not solve the problem, said his father. He has to learn to stand up for himself and fight back. The only reason the bullies pick on him is because they know he's afraid. Bradley was afraid, but not of bullies. He wasn't scared of Melinda either. It was little Laurie Weston who scared him. He could picture her standing in the middle of the playground with her big mouth shouting for the whole school to hear. Melinda Birch beat up Bradley Chalkers and made him cry. Cautiously, he walked across the schoolyard, hand over eye, and entered Mrs. Ebel's class. He sat down in the last seat of the last row. Jeff's chair was empty. Good, he thought, still covering his eye. He probably got kicked out of school. Out of his uncovered eye, he looked at the chart full of gold stars on the wall next to him. He was glad he didn't have any. He thought gold stars were ugly. Mrs. Ebel was in the middle of teaching the difference between adjectives and adverbs when she suddenly stopped and asked, Bradley, is there something the matter with your eye? No. Then please take your hand away from it. I can't, he said. Why can't you? He quickly tried to think of a reason why he had to keep his eye covered. His mind raced through 100 ideas. My hand's stuck, he said. It's stuck? Asked Mrs. Ebel. I was gluing something and got glue on my hand, and then I accidentally touched my face with my hand and it got stuck. Bradley, take your hand away from your eye. He grabbed his wrist with his free hand and pretended to try to pull it away. I can't. It's stuck. Do you want to go to the principal's office? She asked. He's good at unsticking things. Wait, I think it's starting to loosen now, he said. He pried his hand away. There was a bluish-black circle around his eye. For a few seconds, nobody said anything. Then everybody started talking at once. What happened? Asked Mrs. Ebel, but then quickly said, Never mind, I don't want to know. She told the class to turn around and started again on adverbs and adjectives. Jeff walked in late. He said something to Mrs. Ebel, then sat down next to Bradley. Bradley looked the other way, at the chart full of gold stars. Of all the stars, Jeff's were the ugliest. For once he wished he sat in the front of the room. Then only Mrs. Ebel would be able to see his face. Where he was, everyone could turn around and stare at him. All morning, Mrs. Ebel had to keep telling kids to turn around and face front. When the bell rang for recess, he put his hand over his eye and hurried outside. He went to the far end of the playground where nobody would bother him. But the word quickly spread that Bradley Chalkers had a black eye, and kids kept wandering past him trying to get a peek. Melinda fights dirty, said Jeff, coming up behind him. She hit you when you weren't looking, and you couldn't hit her back because it's impolite to hit a girl. Right, said Bradley, turning around. I would have punched her face in, except it's impolite. Melinda probably told the whole school that she beat me up. She's so stupid. No, I don't think she told anybody. After you left, she asked me not to tell anyone what happened. She made Lori and Colleen promise not to tell, too. She's probably afraid I'll punch her face in, said Bradley. Probably, said Jeff. Then this morning I was called into the principal's office. He thought I was the one who hit you. What'd you tell him? Bradley said. Jeff shrugged. I told him you're my best friend. The principal's stupid, Bradley agreed. Chapter 17. Jeff and Bradley ate lunch together around the side of the building where nobody would bother them. Jeff stood up. I'll be right back, he said. I have to go to the bathroom. Which one? Bradley asked. Boys, said Jeff. Oh, said Bradley. I'll wait for you here. It was a very long wait. Hey, Jeff, Robbie called as Jeff stepped out of the bathroom. Me? Asked Jeff. It surprised him because Robbie has always called him Fish Nose or Fish Brain. Come over here, said Robbie. A group of boys was with him. Jeff recognized some from his class, but didn't know them all. One of the boys had a basketball. Hi, Jeff, said Brian, a boy from his class. Hi, Brian, he replied. How's it going, Jeff? Asked Russell. Okay. This is Jeff Fishkin, Robbie told the boys who weren't in his class. He's the guy who gave Chalkers the black eye. Way to go, Jeff, said one of the boys he didn't know. All right, Jeff, said another. Oh, man, would I have liked to see that. Man, when I saw Chalkers' eye today, said Robbie, I just smiled, and then when I found out you got called to the principal's office, I thought, way to go, Jeff. You didn't get in trouble, did you, Jeff? Asked Dan. Jeff shook his head. They probably gave him a medal, said Russell, laughing. The others laughed too. You like to play basketball, Jeff? Asked Andy, the boy with the basketball. Sure, said Jeff. They chose teams. Robbie and Andy were captains. Robbie had first pick. I got Jeff, he said. Jeff beamed. They played basketball for the remainder of the lunch period. Jeff's team won, but it was also the team with 5 players. The other team only had 4. Everyone told him he played a great game. I always wondered why a guy like you was hanging around with Chalkers, said Robbie. I guess it just took you a while to find out who your real friends were. Jeff smiled. These were the kinds of friends he had back in his old school in Washington, D.C. Of course, it meant he couldn't be friends with Bradley anymore, but he shrugged. Chapter 18. From around the corner of the brick building, Bradley watched the end of Jeff's basketball game. Every time Jeff took a shot, Bradley prayed he'd miss. When the bell rang, he hurried back to class ahead of Jeff and the other boys. He sat at his desk, last seat, last row, and took out one of his books. It didn't matter which one. He stared at it very intently as Jeff sat down next to him. Well, maybe it was okay for Jeff to have other friends, he decided as he turned a page. I'm still his best friend. That's what he told the principal. Jeff wouldn't lie to the principal. Maybe I'll get to play basketball with his new friends too, like Karla said. Jeff, he whispered. He wanted to tell Jeff that everything was still okay, that they could still be friends. Hey, Jeff. Jeff didn't look up from his work. Jeff works hard, Bradley realized. That's how he gets all the gold stars. He had to wait until after school. Hey, Jeff, he said as soon as the bell rang. Jeff picked up his books and started out the door. Bradley hurried after him. Jeff, he called, wait up. Jeff stopped and slowly turned around. Bradley suddenly felt very nervous. Do you want to do our homework together? He asked. I can come over to your house if you want, or you can come over to mine. We can use my book, see? He showed Jeff his book. Hey, out of our way, Chalkers, said Robbie as he and Brian pushed past him. Chicken Chalkers, said Brian. Yeah, Chalkers, said Jeff. Bradley walked away. He heard Jeff and his new friends laughing behind him. But when he got home, his own friends were very glad to see him. We're so glad you're home, said Ronnie. We missed you. We're glad you didn't go over to Jeff's house. You're our best friend, said Bartholomew. Hooray for Bradley, shouted the wooden hippopotamus. Hip, hip, hooray, yelled all the other animals. Hip, hip, hooray, hip, hip, said the hippo one last time. Hooray. Let's play a game, said the donkey. What do you want to play? Asked Ronnie. Anything but basketball, said Bartholomew. I hate basketball. Basketball's a stupid game, Ronnie agreed. It's the worst game in the world, said the hippopotamus. Why would anybody want to play basketball? Laughed the ivory donkey. All the other animals laughed too. Chapter 19. Everything returned to normal. Bradley scribbled, cut up bits of paper, and taped things together. He hated everyone, and everyone hated him. That was the way he liked it. He shuddered whenever he remembered that he actually had almost done his homework. He couldn't imagine anything more horrible than that. He was glad Jeff wasn't his friend anymore. He realized he was better off without friends. In fact, he never was friends with Jeff. I was just pretending to be his friend. He decided he'd never pretend to be anybody's friend again. Jeff was normal now, too. That was what he had told Karla. He walked into her office and announced, I don't need any help anymore. I have 8 friends now. We play basketball every recess and lunch, and I'm the best player. Good for you, Jeff, said Karla. I'm very proud of you. How many friends have you made? He asked. I don't keep score, said Karla. I've made 8, said Jeff. I've always considered quality to be more important than quantity when it comes to friendship, said Karla. 8, Jeff repeated, and I'm not friends with Bradley anymore either. I'm sorry to hear that. Why? I'm not. I hate him. In fact, he looked around the room, I gave him a black eye. He quickly glanced at Karla to see if she knew he was lying, then looked away. What happened? Karla asked. Oh, you know, he wouldn't stop bothering me. I kept telling him to get lost, but he kept hanging around. I never liked him. No one does. Then he said to me, give me $1 or I'll spit on you. Well, no one threatens me and gets away with it. I don't take that from nobody. So he tried to hit me, but I ducked, then punched his face in. I didn't want to do it, but I had no choice. That was the short version. Jeff had told that same story to his 8 new friends, but he usually made it much longer. So I don't think I need to see a counselor anymore, he said, since I have 8 friends. Okay, Jeff, if that's how you feel, said Karla. They might think I'm weird or something, he explained. Well, we can't have them thinking that. Does that mean I can go? Karla nodded. But any time you want to talk again, please feel free to come and see me, she smiled, even if you just feel like getting out of class for a while. He left, glad to be out of there. On his way back to class, he walked past the girls' bathroom. He stopped, shook his head, and chuckled to himself. It seemed like it was such a long time ago when he accidentally went in there. I used to be such a jerk, he thought. He smiled a strange smile. He stretched his mouth so wide, it was hard to tell whether it was a smile or a frown. Chapter 20. Colleen walked into Karla's office. I just came to tell you I can't talk to you, she said. Your parents didn't sign the form? No, and they won't either. You know what they said? They said it was a waste of money for the school to hire you. They said you should get married and have your own children before you start telling other parents how they should raise theirs. Karla shrugged. They said if I have any problems, I should talk to them, but when I try to talk to them, they don't listen, she sighed. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Jeff has a lot of other friends now besides Bradley. 8, said Karla with a smile. So now I can invite Jeff to my party without having to invite Bradley. I can invite one of Jeff's other friends. Andy's nice. I couldn't invite Bradley even if I wanted to because Melinda's my best friend, except for Lori, but she gave Bradley a black eye. Colleen quickly covered her mouth with her hand, then slowly took it away. That was supposed to be a secret, she said. Melinda doesn't want anybody to know. I never repeat anything anyone tells me, Karla assured her. Good, said Colleen. Melinda would kill me. Have you asked Jeff to your party yet? No, not yet, but I will. I know he likes me because he always says hello to me when I say hello to him, but then I always get so scared. I never know what to say next. I wish you could help me. Why did my parents say such bad things about you? They don't even know you. Your parents are just trying to do what's best for you, said Karla. A lot of people think counselors don't belong in schools. She shrugged. I guess they're afraid I might fill your head with all kinds of crazy ideas.